I look forward to the suffering of these sessions because I'm like kind of addicted to the benefits that I get afterwards.
That dopamine rise is real. A woman you had on your podcast, Dr. Anna Lemke, Dopamine Nation, she talked about a patient who was in getting off of cocaine. He was feeling low, so he started using ice bath as a way to wean himself off. And, you know, you can't argue with a 2.5x increase in dopamine that's long-lasting. Big spikes in dopamine that crash, that's bad because it's like up and then down. But this, 2, 3, 4 hour increases in dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, you're alert, you feel better, your RPM are set higher.
Is there any benefit to re-emerging yourself in the cold, like once it starts to wear off? Like doing it more than once a day?
Well, you eventually become cold adapted, and you need to start doing things to make sure that it's still a stress stimulus, because that stress stimulus is what sets that all in motion. So if you get really comfy, then you're going to have to start making the water colder, sifting the water around. I mean, you can only make it so cold before you eventually have tissue damage, but that's a wide window. That's why heat is great, but the upper threshold for, as you mentioned, like your throat starts hurting, you're actually burning tissue, is bad. There's an amazing finding on burn that I can't help myself but share. There's a paper that came out that showed, based on observation, burn victims showed dramatic fat loss, not burned by the fire or the burn. So for many years, they become leaner and leaner and leaner. And no one ever understood why this was. But it turns out that burn and local heat application can set in motion a whole bunch of biological cascades that burn up body fat.
Wait a minute. So that means those belly fat things are real?
Well, they're now using local heating, and these are people really need to be careful with heat because burning yourself to burn body fat is just dumb and dangerous. But using they have this UCP device, but in the laboratory. But what they're doing is they're using a laser that heats up locally the tissue, and they're seeing a systemic increase in body fat utilization.
Do you remember those cold sculpting things that they used to do to people, but apparently it fucked people up? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I remember the belts. I don't remember the cold sculpting.
No, they were doing a thing where they were like cool sculpting, where they were saying that they're going to blow cold air all over your fat area and it was going to make your fat, and people like calling bullshit on it.
I'm calling bullshit on it because I think that it's probably some general systemic effect of being cold and metabolism going up.
Right.
And of course, we should say this, if you're eating more food than you're burning off total, you're not going to lose fat, right? I mean that the rules of the laws of thermodynamics still apply, because sometimes people hear you can do anything and still lose fat,
but
and that's not true.
Body waist belts that people put on, are those legit? Because they do heat up that area.
There may be some truth to this.
Really?
But it's not going to be spot reduction. This is where it gets misleading. Even though it's applied locally, it's not spot reduction. They're talking about heat causing a systemic increase in body fat utilization. Again, on a backdrop of caloric deficit, more body fat burn.